Zambia Blog Talk Radio.
Ready to take your nursing career to the next level? At Global Nurse Pathways, we're here to make your dream of working in the US healthcare system a reality. From expert NCLEX exam preparations to personalized consulting and relocation support, led by the incredible Dr. Alice Nalondo, who holds a Doctor of Nursing Practice and is certified as a family nurse practitioner and a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. Our team delivers top-notch training to help you answer the NCLEX exam. Once you pass your NCLEX exam, we will connect you with the US-based recruiting agencies, setting you on the path to an amazing career in healthcare. Ready to get started? We're just a call or a message away. Call or WhatsApp us now at +1 346 328 1110 for the US or +260 961 875 081 for Zambia or email info@embehavioral.com. Let's make your dreams come true together. Global Nurse Pathways, transforming careers, changing lives.
Hello everyone, welcome to the show. It is Saturday, this January 25th. Oh my goodness, the year is already flying. We're already about to say goodbye to January. Welcome to ZBTR TV. I want you to tag somebody and give them a little nudge and say the show is live. We have an exciting discussion today and an exciting guest. Follow us on social media on ZBTR TV, on our social media platforms on Facebook, YouTube, and X, what used to be Twitter some time ago. All right, you all ready for a wonderful discussion? Let's get this started. All right, joining us this morning, and I love it when I have people within my neighborhood. You know, I like talking to people within my neighborhood. It's exciting. We do enjoy having guests across the pond, across the ocean, around the world. I just get excited when joining us this morning. Like I've said, from within my neighborhood is Dr. SIDONIE NIBA, a seasoned medical affairs leader in the pharmaceutical industry. And she boasts of 15 years of diverse experience as a nurse and doctor of pharmacy. She is the founder of the African think tank. All right.
Good morning.
Dr. NIBA, good morning. Good. Welcome.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. The sun is out. It's a beautiful day.
Yes, it is. You know, in this part of the country, we don't experience the kind of winter they are having up north and on the East Coast, right?
We're fortunate.
Yes, that's right. Dr. Niba, thank you for taking the time to be here to talk about issues to do with the African diaspora community. And obviously, when things happen or people are driven or prompted or they have a nudge in their heart or spirit, if I may say that, to come up with ideas, it's because you notice there is a disconnect, there is a missing link somewhere. I would like you to tell us about what it is that you were contending with. What prompted the idea of the African think tank?
I think it was a culmination of a variety of different things, right? You know, you talk about moments in time, in your life. And at some point, all of those moments that were independent, all of a sudden they sort of come together and converge. And then you have a feeling of, oh my gosh, something has to be done. So it's a combination of, my own immigrant struggle and story of being in the US and coming into a very, very strange country, a very strange system, and really struggling, right? And um, going through some of the pains that so many of us as immigrants have dealt with, which, that's a rabbit hole we're not going to go through, but understanding and always recognizing that there's a huge gap in where we are as a people and where we're supposed to be. And then when you tag on to that, just the amazing individuals that we are, when you think about our community, we're amongst the most highly educated immigrant population in the US, really in the globe, right? And when you juxtapose that with our economic capacity, there's a misalignment, right? We're underemployed. So many of us struggle with working in careers that we actually trained for because we're making do with the careers that are available and that are fiscally sustainable for us as individuals or for our family's sake. And then, for me, I took a lot of trips to the motherland between 2019 and 2022. And, I born and raised in Cameroon, that was the lens that I grew up with. I thought Africa was Cameroon. The more I traveled, and not just the motherland, the continent, or the world, I started to realize how amazing Africa is. You hear other people talk about it and you're like, okay, we have a lot of issues. Every continent does, right?
Of course.
But then you start to realize that we have a lot going for us. There's a lot of value in us as a continent, in us as a people. Our heritage is beautiful. Our values are probably the top in the world, our value system. And so within me individually, I felt this overbearing sense of obligation to tell our story in a manner that has never been told before. And to galvanize our communities to really come together to do good and to stop existing, right? And start to thrive instead of just getting up and going to a job and coming back and living in a bubble. I do think it's time for us as a people to really rise and be audacious about our identity and unapologetic about it. And so that combination of experiences and thoughts is what led me to say, you know what, we got to do something.
Excellent. So obviously, the first person you said this to was your husband, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. One question, two parts. What did your husband say, and who was the first other person that you called about this?
My husband said, "Oh, this is too big," Yeah. He really has, and the beautiful thing about him is the experiences I just described are shared experiences, right? He and I both experienced most of these things together. So there was never any doubt that he and I both recognized that something needed to be done.
Yes.
I think his feedback was, oh my gosh, are our people ready for this, right? This is something that is bigger than you or I, and we have to make sure that our people are ready for it.
Okay. And who was the other next person you called?
The second person that I called, her name is Francisca. She's my big sister.
Okay.
And I call her for pretty much the big decisions in my life, and she always gives it to me straight. She's a strategic advisor, if you would. And her thing was, we're doing this. It was not, it was a 10-second conversation, which is kind of her style. She's like, we're doing this. And she said, this is going to be so big that you and I we can't even see how big this is going to be, but I know it will be big. It will be big. What she did tell me, she said the vision, what she envisioned the African think tank being is the next essence for the African diaspora. And we talked about a massive conference where we would bring all of the diaspora together, folks from the continent, folks from here on on U.S. soil, and really have some very, very high impact conversations and discourse about our community, and that will transcend generations. We would include not just our elderly population, but even our kids as well. And really, emphasize the importance of owning our heritage and our identity. So those are the two.
And you see, we're going to get to that with the part you mentioned about the kids and that. We're going to get to the part where you talk about how the African think tank engages and has got programs for the kids. All right. So all these conversations have taken place. And how did you navigate the process of mobilization? That's the African diaspora is broad, vast, diverse, all the words fill in the blanks. How did you navigate the mobilization process? How did you do it?
Yeah, gosh, I'm still doing it.
Okay. Yeah, it's an ongoing process.
Yes, that work will forever be going on. Hopefully, not hopefully, I'm excited to say that more people have joined the mobilization wagon. But I will say that I underestimated the need. That is one thing that I'm very, very transparent about, and it humbles me. I had a very small vision when I started. My vision was, let's just get people together in a room in Dallas and have them talk to each other, because that was missing for me, was Africans having a space where we engaged in intentional conversation, not social events, not baby showers or weddings or birthday parties,
or independence celebrations.
Right. We're really good at that stuff. We've nailed that, right? I don't think there's a people that can do social the way Africans do social. We're very social beings. We enjoy each other's company. For me, what was missing was an intentional, growth-focused conversation, a conversation that unapologetically asked each other, how are you doing, right? How are you doing professionally? How are you doing economically? How are you doing with your investments? How can I help? How can you help me, right? To me, those were very important pieces and pillars that were missing from some of the social constructs that I was a part of. And so I just got a few friends in the Dallas area, people within my personal network. My husband did the same, and we invited our friends out. We got a space, a meeting space, and we created a flyer, circulated it on Facebook, ran some ads. We did some marketing. And my prayer, and which that continues to be my prayer, is that the people that need what we are can find us. Because it's one thing to have a service and a product and an organization or a movement, right? It's another thing for you to get in front of the people that are looking for you. And when you talk about marketing and business strategy, that's where the rubber hits the road. Is you can have a great product, but are you talking to the right person or the right people? And I think, and we're still on that journey, but that was the first mixture. We got about 20 individuals in a room. We had some small business vendors who were very big about showcasing African businesses. We were able to get a couple of vendors, again, just from...
What did you talk about in that meeting?
We just did introductions. It was a very light agenda. We went around the room and just had people talk about themselves. What do you do? Where are you struggling, right? Like, how can this community support you? And then we presented a little bit about the African think tank and the vision and mission of the organization. It was a very light event. It lasted about 2 hours, but it was very emotionally fulfilling. And you would know this, but there's something about being in a space where you're with your own, right? And you don't have to put on a mask. You don't have to change how you sound. So for us, it was there was a moment there that made it very clear to everybody in the room that we need more of this.
So there's a phrase you've used. Where are you struggling? I know as a people we are very reserved and conservative about opening up about personal matters or issues,
Yes.
especially in a group of people.
Yes.
How, to what degree was the openness?
Mm. You know, I don't know that I'll ever know that. Only the
Ah,
individuals that were that spoke would probably know the breadth and depth. I will say that the general energy in the room, and we're very intentional about what we call our events. They're called growth mindset
okay.
mixed for a reason. There's a certain type of person that we want in the room, right?
Mm,
Someone who has a growth mindset. So I think by default, we tend to attract individuals that are already of an open mind and an open disposition,
mm,
and that are not as closed as our traditional African, um, you know, archetype, if you would. So I think most people were more vulnerable than would be expected. But I also believe that there's probably more there that was not shared, and over time,
mm,
and
mm, mm.
we're we may get to it, but we do have smaller groups, right? Because that
Okay.
was our first major
Imagine.
open session. But since then, we've created opportunities for smaller think tank groups. We call them focus groups, where
Okay.
we go a little deeper, right? We talk a little
Mm,
bit more about, okay, what's really going on? What
mm,
resources are available to you? How can how can the others in the group plug you in? I mean, do you
mm.
need a job? And um, so part of this is also a mindset shift, right? Part of what we're doing is also changing that mindset, like you talked about being okay with sharing and saying, I need help, I'm struggling here. And it's an uphill battle, like for our people. But I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah, it is. It is. It is. So I'm sure a lot of people are like, can you get to it? Can you get they can see the name African
yes,
think tank there.
yeah,
So all right. So what is the African think tank? Tell us about it.
yeah. The African think tank it's a mandate.
Mhm.
It's a movement. It's a must have. You know, in just simple terms, our organization has been around for a year and a half. It was founded right here in Dallas, Texas, with a group of 20. We've since expanded and grown that network to over 3,500, I believe,
Wow.
counting.
Wow.
Um, we have expanded to 5 cities across the U.S. So Dallas is the flagship chapter, and then we have a presence in Houston. We have a presence in Atlanta, the DMV area, and Charlotte.
Mm,
Uh, and we serve the African diaspora. We serve the African friend community. If anyone that is a friend of ours and that is respectful and honors and wants to be plugged into our heritage is welcome to join this movement. Our mission is to foster a sense of belonging. That's
okay.
that's that's the first part of our mission, which is very important to us. We want to be a safe space for anyone that identifies as African, a place to call home, right? Not everyone can afford a trip to the motherland
Mm,
or take their kids. And so we are a space for individuals that want to stay connected to their heritage and want to feel that there's a space for them in this very different ecosystem that we live in. Uh,
okay.
know that there is a space that they can be grounded in. And so that's the first part of our mission, is really to foster a sense of belonging, but then also to facilitate the transformation of our people. And we do that through three major ways. We do it through professional development initiatives, we do it through economic transformation, and then entrepreneurial transformation as well.
Mm,
Uh, in terms of our vision, we envision an interconnected network global,
okay.
where Africans are plugged into each other no matter where you are on the globe. And this is part of our strategic plan, which that's probably 2026, but we are building the framework to allow for that to happen, to allow for Africans wherever they are to be able to tap into each other.
Mm. Obviously, you've talked about having being established or a presence in
Mhm.
Houston, Charlotte, Atlanta, DMV, and Dallas, of course. And to do this, you had to identify people in those cities and in those areas. And
Yes.
obviously, you've already mentioned the organization is just a
Yes.
year plus, a
Mm-hmm.
few months old. And obviously, we are going to the Midwest and to the West Coast. We will go there.
Yes.
I'm saying we will because I'm
Yes.
part of this.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
When you were identifying the people to do this or to lead, let me put the website there, everybody watching, so that you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That's a website. Go to that website, look at what the African think tank is about and how it is structured so that you are able to understand the reason I'm asking the type of questions I'm asking, the way it is structured. Very impressive. Were you looking for individuals with specific skill sets, or it didn't matter, you just had to be available?
Ooh, just being available is never an option, right? Because that's sort of the recipe for failure. It's really important that the folks that work with the think tank believe in the mission and vision, right? So for us, fundamentally, there are two criterion that we looked at when we thought about who would be a good fit. The first one is having a heart of service. Individuals that believe in giving back versus taking, individuals that understand the importance of others over self. And within my network and within the network of the board, we were able to identify a couple of folks that I personally knew were already doing a lot of this service work, right? They're individuals that I had interacted with, that I knew that their heart was in the right place, either because they've worked in another capacity in the service space, or they had some affiliation with the African diaspora in some shape or form. So for us, that's the number one criteria is you have to be someone who believes in the power of the collective, and who believes that we are better together versus as individuals. And then the second is just an ability to do the work. It's a lot of work, and I don't want to understate how much our volunteers put in. So those were the two major things that we looked at. Individuals that were already doing the work, had a service-oriented mindset, but then that also were willing participants, right? Because it's very difficult to lean on people that are doing you a favor versus people that are actually committed to the cause, whether or not I was leading it, right? They do it anyway.
Yeah, that's important. That's very important. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Dr. SIDONIE NIBA. She's the founder of the African think tank.
Ready to take your next.
If you live in the Dallas Metroplex area and you serve in any leadership capacity, you are welcome to that Leadership Summit retreat. It's one day. If you need information or details, you can get in touch with me and you'll be challenged, like Dr. Niba is saying. Okay, we have a lot of people here that are Wake Africa and Thrive. Hi, Zenith. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. She's from the DMV area. Good morning, Wansa from Indiana. We appreciate you. Priska, DMV is in the house today. And good morning, Priska. Hi, Brenda from Heath, Texas. And Tiniso is here as well. Hi, Tiniso. Good morning. Tiniso has attended one of the, I think, one or two sessions. I can't remember exactly how many sessions he has attended. And he connects a lot and hangs out a lot with Ruben. And I love the African think tank. Zenith introduced me to it. And we have Clotilda here from the Washington area on the West Coast. Clotilda, you're going to jump on this and be the first person to start a chapter on the West Coast, right? We need people to do that. Miss Theo, good morning. And Nancy, also good morning there. When you look at the work that you have embarked on, like you said in your earlier comments, your husband said this is big. And the first time I just found it online. I mean, I just said, this is something, this is interesting. And I continued clicking on it. You know?
Nice.
That's the beauty of social media, right? It's got
Yes.
it's a lot of benefits and advantages apart from what other what is your strategy for turning concepts? Okay, you have a lot of these, and I like the things that you have said, you know, intentional growth, focused on conversations. You know, it's a movement. I like the terminology you are using, growth mindset. All right, everybody, like I said, go to the website, and as a matter of fact, even if you go to Facebook, just type in what do you call it, the African think tank, and it will come up. All right, so that you are able to follow what we are talking about. They say talk is cheap. So what is your strategy for turning concepts into tangible projects in Africa? Are you doing anything in Africa?
Not at this time. And I will say our strategy is we are very, very intentional. Our personal belief at the African think tank is that if the diaspora is not thriving, the continent will not thrive, right? We've seen a lot of organizations like the African think tank rush into the continent, try to change things too quickly, and then crumble within a couple of months or a couple of years. We're not doing that, right? Our focus is building the diaspora, and then with the understanding, when you look at remittances and how much of the diaspora dollars go to the motherland, if we were to improve the livelihood of the folks that live in the diaspora, by default, the motherland will be the beneficiary. So we're taking more of a grassroots approach, which is we're not in a hurry to jump to the continent and start changing the laws and upheaving governments and taking over countries and stuff. We're not in the business of that, at least not in the manner that has been done in the past. We're very big on being intentional with our growth. So our programs as of today. Now, will we do work on the continent? Absolutely, without a doubt. But our programs as of today are focused on building community here in the diaspora, making sure that the members of the diaspora are doing well, right? So we have 3 major programs. One are the growth mindset mixers that we talked about. We run those in all 5 cities. The first one for 2025 is coming up on February 27th. It's a Thursday. So if you live in any of those cities, definitely show up. We always have a great time in just fellowship and networking and learning. And in that particular event in February, in honor of Black History Month, we will be talking about the gaps that exist between the African immigrant population and the African American population in a very intentional and respectful manner, right? It's important that we fix our home, right? And only when we are thriving and doing well, because the diaspora includes folks that are not born on the continent.
That's right.
Yeah. So we have to make sure that as a people, we're united as a diaspora. And then when we walk into any room and make any demands, people will listen. Many of our initiatives have failed because we did not have a united front. We did not build a strategic plan that was sustainable and that was backed by some very strong investors or strong partners. So in terms of, those mixers, we will have 6 in-person events for 2025 in all 5 regions. And you can find out more about that on our website and register. And then our second program that is focused on anyone on the globe. So it's one of our initial attempts to connect with the continent. We host every quarter these online workshops that focus on 4 major areas that we identified as major gaps for our community. Entrepreneurship, right? So for those that are struggling with starting a business or getting funding, finding resources to help them market their business or their products and their services, understanding how the landscape works. There's a digital, we're in a digital age now where you have to kind of understand how to thrive within that system. So we provide support for our entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs. We also have parenting and education, navigating the challenges of raising what some people will call third culture kids, right? So many of our kids are struggling. So many. I talk to parents all the time. Our kids are confused. There's a lot that's coming at them from different angles. The values that we teach them at home sometimes get untaught in school or in the community. So we have to make sure that our parents are equipped with the right tools and resources to raise kids in this environment that we're in. Financial education, that's a big one for all of our community. How do we leverage the resources that are available to us here in the US? How do we leverage some of the investment vehicles? And we do have opportunities to invest on the continent as well. We have some folks within the think tank that have a very well-validated and very structured mechanism to help people that are looking to invest on the motherland. So financial education really talks about, how do we build legacy? How do we build generational wealth? How do we take advantage of some things that we don't know about within the tax code? So that's what that workshop is about. And then last but not least is career development. For those that don't care to do a business and that just want to work a 9 to 5 or, 5 to 9, whatever their schedule is, how do they establish themselves in a manner that sets them up for, the best salaries and compensation and growth, things like resume writing, some of the basic things that so many of us take for granted. We have people that struggle with that, right? And, interview preparation, how to break into tech. So our online workshops are open to anyone, anywhere on the globe. And we host those once a month on Saturdays for about 2 hours. So that's our second program that we launched in this year, 2025. And then the third program is Culture Bridge, which is actually happening right now. My kids are a part of that. And 1 hour every Saturday, we teach our kids about their heritage. We teach them about the continent. We teach them about, Africa's cultures and traditions, our food, our fabrics, our fashion. I attended last week's and I was just glued to the screen. I'm like, I need this for adults because so many of us, we know the continent and we don't know how full in the history of Africa. So those are the 4 major programs. And as you can tell, there's no way that the motherland will not benefit from these initiatives.
Most definitely. Let's zero in onto this thing to do with the children, with the kids, because I know that's it's a huge thing in our community. It doesn't matter whether you're from West, East Africa, North, South, and everything else. So I like this, the parenting and what did you say? Parenting and
education.
Parenting and education. What goes on with this? Talk about that.
Yeah, so we have a 1-year module. So we have a curriculum that was designed by our amazing associate director of programming and her team. And so they built out, it's about a 4 or 5 module curriculum that goes over, I think not last week, but we had the first session already. And that first session, I believe, I wasn't in that session, but I believe they talked about conflict resolution and communication with your children. So just fundamentally, right, how to speak to our kids. The way my dad spoke to me is not how I should talk to my daughter. It's just a different space. I've tried it. I still try it sometimes. It doesn't work. I need help. So so we go through, or that curriculum goes through some of the basics around parenting, right? And then to go into things like, picking schools, looking at how to identify the right schools for your kids, how to be an advocate for your children in whatever organization or school they're in, either public or private. They talk about some of the variances with the different school systems, how to get plugged into opportunities, ancillary services for our kids. We've had a lot of um, uh, reports, especially for our kids from the French zones, that struggle with language here in the US and that struggle with translation. So, how to find services that can accommodate and cater to the needs of our kids that may not have English as a first language and their parents as well, right? Like what are some of the rights that you have as a parent that you may not even know about? And sources like, scholarships and grants or different financial incentives that may be available to us, how to pay for your child's education, planning for college, how to identify some of those resources that are available to parents as we kind of move along that spectrum with our kids, or move along that continuum as they get older. So those are some of the things that we talk about within the parenting and education, or that we will be talking about within the
So
curriculum.
are these free programs, or you have to pay? You have to pay something?
Yeah. So obviously we function and we thrive on donation. So we are 100% donation run organization. Everything we do is through the benevolence of donors that believe in our work and that are excited about what we're doing for our community. So the growth mindset mixers, there's no cost or charge or fee to attend those. Those are the in-person events. We do have vendor opportunities available, and our vendors they really help us kind of subsidize the cost of running these programs. As you can imagine, it's not cheap.
No, it's not. It's not cheap. Yeah.
So many events across the country. So our vendors, I mean, God bless them. They help us a lot subsidizing our costs. But for individuals, there's no fee to attend starting this year. And for the focus groups, the online workshops, there is a very nominal fee. It's $10, and it's a donation. So I think the good thing about our organization is that all of the revenue that we bring in is a tax deduction for the individuals that chip in or that donate. So that one it's a $10 fee, and folks are welcome to sponsor people on the continent. We've had some people ask us if they can sponsor folks on, in Africa to attend and take advantage.
These are online events, right?
Yes, they're online and they're once a quarter. And then Culture Bridge, the kids program, there is a cost to that as well. It's a monthly fee. We're currently running a 50% off a sale as we just launched. And again, we have to cover the overhead for that because we work with a vendor who's based in Lagos, Nigeria, actually.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Supporting.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. So
listen, everybody watching, just look for the African Think Tank on Facebook. All the programs are there. There are a lot of flyers. If you scroll down, programs that are coming up, stuff like that. Guys, let's get engaged. Let's support. Let's participate. $10 is nothing.
Right.
Let's make this movement grow. Okay. She said from 20 people to 3,500. Let's make it a 10,000 people movement before the end of the year.
That's right.
All right. I like doing these things, Dr. Niba, on this platform. Whenever we meet and we have something, it's not, hey, let's not just talk. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So by the end of the year, the African think tank needs to get to 10,000 people. Let's do
Love it.
that.
I love
You,
it. We'll get it
you
done.
hear me, Clotilda? Allow me to talk to my people. Zambia, let's do this. Okay? Zambia, let's do this. Zambians get engaged. Houston, Charlotte, Atlanta, DMV, and Dallas. Let's get involved. Go to the Facebook or website, the African Think Tank, and you see there. This is, I mean, Priska, Zenith, Tiniso, they participate. They'll tell you. Tiniso and I talk a lot about this. Okay.
Mhm.
Let me ask the question that a friend sent to me. He said, what are the 2 or 3 prime areas of thought that the African think tank considers to be most critical for the African community in the US?
Ooh, socioeconomic disparities. We are not doing as well economically as we should as a people. That there's a huge gap, and we've looked at the data. On average, our households earn about $10,000 less than other equivalent households, and that's a lot. That's a huge difference. And if that was an isolated statistic, it would be okay. But when you put that against another statistic that says 40% of us are educated at a bachelor's or higher, and 30% with STEM degrees, it does not make sense, right? STEM careers are one of the most highly compensated careers in the US. How
Yes.
come we are actually making less than a US born school teacher, for example, or a US born employee that, only has a high school diploma? The math doesn't add up, right? We are not doing as well as we can, or as we should, and as we deserve to be. So socioeconomic disparity is a big one. We have to get our community to be earning what we deserve to earn, both within professional spaces and within business spaces. So that's probably the first and most prevalent one that we've identified. And then the second one would probably be financial literacy,
Okay.
which, we just don't know what we don't know. And no one's going to tell us, you know. So, and that's where allyships come in. We have to get in front of individuals that understand the system. We have to take advantage of the people within our community that understand the system and that can teach us how to navigate it. During our last TAC Thrive, the online workshop, which we did, we brought on an amazing speaker. He's a CPA financial advisor. And I mean, he presented some stuff that just blew my mind about some of the things that we're not aware of within the tax code. We were all just amazed by how much we're not taking advantage of. So those would be the 2 areas that we have a mandate to address.
Okay. I know Miss Joyce, when you say tax code, she's like, okay. That comment I've put there. Financial education and building generational wealth should be on top of the agenda. And I mean, this is huge. I know where she's coming from because she deals with these things.
Yes.
Auntie Joyce, please, let's get this in our community and get out of out of these things. Yeah. Wansa says, yes, we shall 10,000.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to go. If we don't just need to get to 10,000, we need to get to 10,000 financially strong people.
Yes.
And my good brother Ruben says, great conversation. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. I want to get, before we, somebody's watching this and they're like, well, you've got a PhD in pharmacology, you got it going together. I want you to talk about, you didn't have it easy when you came into the United States, okay? Tell us briefly about your earlier days.
Oh boy. It was rough. I came in very, pursuing the American dream. I was very, very naive. I was 18. so I was young. I had a very different impression of the U.S., which most of us do. But I came in, I went to school, and very quickly my family could not afford to cover my tuition. And so I became a dishwasher. It was very tiny. I was in a tiny town, middle of nowhere, California. Nobody that looked like me. Well, there was one, my roommate from Nigeria, and she was my lifeline. We're still friends till date. But I started washing dishes. I was getting paid, cash for it, because I was not authorized to work as a student. And that was how I kind of survived. I ended up getting kicked out of school. I was homeless for a while, and this amazing lady that worked at the school took me in, and let me stay with her for a little bit. And I was able to save up some money, and then eventually got a roommate. And those were some very difficult days, trying to figure out, where I would go from there. I bounced around, stayed with a couple of friends for a little bit, and then eventually made my way into nursing school, where I would work. I would work overnight, so I'd go in at 6 p.m., get out at 6 a.m., and then go to class from 8 to about 3, go home, and do it again. And I did that 6 days a week.
Isn't that the typical African story?
Yes. So my story it's not unique in that most of us have had it just as bad, if not worse. And, it builds that resilience that we all carry very, very strongly with us. So yeah, over time, I think the one thing that kept me going was just knowing that my family depended on me, and that giving up was not an option. That kept me going. So I got through nursing school. I had to pay out of pocket for that. And then I had, committed to my dad that I would get my doctorate in pharmacy. And he passed before I was able to realize that dream.
Okay.
But I had to get it done. And so I was able to kind of continue to work. And I've never not worked to pay my way through stuff. So yeah, it may look like it's glamorous. It's not. It's still, there's always we all navigate different challenges.
I wanted you to tell that story, because when I read it myself, we always have these misconceptions when people like you, are talking, come on this platform, like, oh, she's got it going, blah, 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 and everything else. And they are friends that helped you through the transition. Are you still in touch with all of them?
Yes, absolutely. My friends I have the most amazing friends. And, to your point about some, looks and perceptions, very big on feedback, because I'm a very, by default, I'm pretty persistent. And individuals that are so driven and so, focused on certain goals, sometimes we have a lot of blind spots because we're laser focused on a goal. And I rely a lot on my friends to give it to me real and give me feedback. And I invite that. So I have really great friends who keep me grounded. And sometimes when I'm maybe going down a rabbit hole, I need them to kind of pull me out and say, nope, let's focus, on the bigger picture. Don't get too caught up in one thing. So my friends I have some amazing friends.
Amazing. The think tank recently, I believe it's in November, you are a gala. Yeah.
Yes.
Could you tell us about what happened there?
Yes. Oh gosh, that was probably the highlight of the year for us. Sometime in May, I called up one of our team members and I was like, should we do a gala? And she was like, yeah, let's do a gala. And, speaking of friends, right, I tend to surround myself with people that we don't really see limitations. We put things in the universe and we manifest it. And I'm very big on that, right? I just believe that we can. So back in May, I said, should we? And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we decided to do a gala. I mean, we didn't have any money. We didn't know how we would get the money to do a gala. We were struggling just keeping up with our events in the 5 regions. But we put a team together. Again, our volunteers, I mean, we have 180 volunteers. Ridiculous.
Okay.
Like, we have companies that don't even have that many employees. But we have a very, 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 very determined set of people that are just on fire for this mission. And so they got to work. We got to work, you know, finding a venue. We got people, vendors, we got sponsors who had been, who had seen, and they're still on the journey with us, but they had been with us from day one. They were bought into our mission. And so we held our first gala ever, November 16th. We sold out, which was crazy. We sold out a week before the event. We had 150 tickets, and it was a beautiful just display of African culture and heritage. We had performances from across the continent. We had a fashion show. We had food, crazy amount of food from all over the continent, right?
I can imagine.
Yes, we wanted to make sure people understood the royalty that is African. And so we delivered on that goal. And so we're already planning. As a matter of fact, yesterday we went to check out a potential venue for the 2025 gala, which
is it still going to be November?
Yes, November 15th is what we're looking at, and we'll be announcing that shortly. I hope I didn't.
Okay, so I have a tricky question. It's not a tricky question. I reserved this for last. Okay?
Yeah.
This was during the gala, all right?
Yeah.
So I want you to tell us about this moment.
Ooh. Yeah. That gives me chills. Ouch. Okay. So that is Professor Clarence Glover Jr. He is a professor of African history at SMU, and an amazing man. He was actually one of Martin Luther King's colleagues and the friends, followers, you know, many, many years ago. And he is one of the most powerful individuals. He does a lot of work, agriculture around cotton and cotton farming. And he is a very strong force within the African American and African immigrant communities. He was born here, but has done the work, right, of going back and understanding the African culture, the African heritage. He's traveled, you know, all over the continent. And so during the gala, we had asked him to do us the honor of conferring the opening blessing for the gala. And so he gave homage to our ancestors. He gave homage to the slaves that walked this earth, or that walked this country and that built the country. And he just paid homage to the struggles of our community, you know, both on the continent and here in the US. And he brought a couple of cotton balls with him, and he wove one of those into a piece of thread. And then he called me up, and he put that around my right wrist as a blessing. And the moment right there is when he was about to wrap it around my wrist. I still have it. I was so honored. I didn't think, you know, he looked right at me in the audience, and he said, and he pointed, and he's like, "Come." I'm like, "No, not me." He's like, "Yes, you come to the front." But it was the most solemn moment of the gala. And for most of us, I actually teared up a bit because and he brought some chains, some of the shackles that were put on our, you know, ancestors when they were brought over. Yeah, and he touched on that a little bit. So it was a moment of just connection and you know, going back and taking time to honor the people that walked the path that we are walking, and that made it possible for us to be where we are today as a people. And we owe it to them to continue that work, right?
Yeah,
that's why the think tank exists. We cannot just fold our arms and say someone else can, pick up the baton. Our kids are at risk.
That's right. That's right. There's a question here from somebody watching. Mansa says, for online members, do we have same opportunities, same as the states that have it in person?
Yes, except for the mixer events that are in person. But outside of that, yes, you would have, access to the community. You would have access to the online programs like the Tat Thrive workshops, and then the Culture Bridge for the kids. Everything else is would be included except for the in-person events. But we do tell everyone who does not live in a region to, save the date for the gala, because that's when we get everybody together, right? So at least try to make the gala if you can't do an in-person event in the city.
Okay. So what are the requirements for anybody to join the think tank?
As of today, we don't have any requirement. We will be launching a formal membership program within the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. And that will give you access to our online community where we host some of these programs and also do a lot of the in-between communication and resource sharing. So that will be announced here within the next couple of weeks. And, the requirements is that, you have to be a part of the mission, believe in the mission, want to give back, believe that community is better than self. And we also are always looking for volunteers. So if you're interested in being a volunteer, you can find out how to do that on the website. But then we also have a membership, aside from the volunteer opportunity as well.
Okay. Somebody who lives in a state, city where there's no think tank, they're like, oh, I want to put this together in my area. What should they do?
Yes, they should reach out to us by email, info@theafricanthinktank.com. I will say that there has to be a need within that community, right? We're not in the business of duplicating efforts. Some cities already have existing African organizations that do similar work as we do. So we always want to make sure that we do some feasibility. We have a conversation and say, is someone else already providing these services to our people? And if they are, fantastic, right? There could not be enough organizations like the African Think Tank because the need is so huge. But if everything if there is a huge opportunity for us to make an impact within that community, then we would put them on. We work with them to kind of get them to launch a chapter in their region, and that takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months, just depending on their readiness and their ability to build a team on the ground that can help them.
Amazing.
Yes.
Dr. Niba, thank you for taking the time.
Oh, of course.
This has been an amazing conversation, and I look forward to connecting and to working and to being part of this great vision.
Yes. Please think about volunteering, folks. We need all hands on deck. There's a lot of work to be done.
Excellent. All right, everybody. That was our show today. My guest was Dr. SIDONIE NIBA. She's the founder and chairperson of the African Think Tank. Next week, we are going to be talking to somebody who overcame alcohol and drug abuse, and it actually destroyed his life, and he just emerged out of it. We thank you for joining us. Go to the social media platforms and search for the African Think Tank, and you'll find all the information there. Thank you all. As always, subscribe to our YouTube channel, ZBTR TV, and follow us on social media. We'll see you next week.
Ready to take your nursing career to the next level? At Global Nurse Pathways, we're here to make your dream of working in the U.S. healthcare system a reality. From expert NCLEX exam preparations to personalized consulting and relocation support. Led by the incredible Dr. Alice Nalondo, who holds a Doctor of Nursing Practice and is certified as a family nurse practitioner and a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. Our team delivers top-notch training to help you answer the NCLEX exam. Once you pass your NCLEX exam, we will connect you with the US-based recruiting agencies, setting you on the path to an amazing career in healthcare. Ready to get started? We're just a call or a message away. Call or WhatsApp us now at +1 346 328 1110 for the US or +260 961 875 081 for Zambia or email info@embbehavioral.com. Let's make your dreams come true together. Global Needs Pathways, transforming careers, changing lives.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.